the real difficulty of how to teach this and how to learn this, you know. It's very hard to just describe everything directly, you know. So much is up to the person doing the learning and how much energy they're going to put into it. I mean, I would say, you know, if there's one major thing, listen to records, copy what they're doing, you know, and learn tunes, you know. And I mean, that's kind of the backbone of it. I don't know, you know. Get out and listen to people play, you know. Watch how they do it. Watch, you know, if you can, get to talk to them, see how they talk. I mean, you know, the lessons the most important lessons that I've had have all been very oblique, you know. It's all been just like being around someone who had a lot more together than I did, and just checking it out, you know, and hopefully getting a chance to play with them, because then it really comes out in stark relief, you know. You really learn what you don't know when you're playing with someone that has more together, and you go, wow, okay, I get it. And, you know, I don't really know how anyone could have, you know, those situations that have happened, I don't know how anyone could have possibly said, okay, so what you need to get together is this, you know. No, there's no other way that I could have experienced what it meant except to hear someone do it and be next to someone, or at least listening to someone do it. So, you know, it's a very difficult thing to know how to teach it, and also exactly what, you know, a list of things to study. Also because everyone's going to have just different proclivities in one direction or another. Maybe someone really, you know, immediately gets a certain melodic phrasing part of it, but doesn't, you know, really know the harmony. Or maybe they have a strong grounding in harmony, but they're just going up and down, and you never hear a melody. You know, everyone's going to have a different kind of natural way of learning it, and the way that we have an individual voice is that, you know, you end up using that, you know. So your particular way of learning how to play jazz and how to improvise, you know, it's going to come from the work that you put into it, the listening that you do. I mean, of course, you know, some of the most direct, valuable information that people have given me is, hey, check this record out. You know, that's specific information that's, like, helpful, you know. And even now, I find that a lot of the inspiration that I get from listening to other music, you know, it comes from my friends. It comes from the musical community that I'm in. And, you know, we spend a lot of time together on the road, and that's a big subject. Like, man, did you ever hear that, you know, there's this bootleg of Coltrane with, you know, Pharaoh, and it does this thing, and it's, you know, like, or whatever it is, like just something I haven't checked out. And I get so much from that still, you know. So, yeah, you know, and just kind of knowing what to focus on is the whole thing, too, you know. I'm a big believer in, you know, like just the fundamentals, and think about melody and think about rhythm, you know. Because, I mean, you can say a lot with a little, but unfortunately you can also say very little using a lot, you know. If you really have a good sense of time, you don't need to, you know every scale in the Slinimsky book, you know. You need to be able to play the blues, you know. It's like lot of phrases, kind of just real stock phrases, more than once, but just trying to get into that groove. And that was already a lot of notes. I mean, that's a lot more notes than B.B. King ever used, and he said a lot, So there's so much of it that's kind of knowing what to do with the material that if you're playing classical clarinet literature, the amount of material that you've got to get under your fingers is enough for, a lifetime of improvising. It's just like, what do you do with it? And it's hard. Like, it's hard to explain what to do with it, except again by just listening and as a language. I wish, focusing on sound, focusing on a sense of time, focusing on a sense of phrasing, I would say, as far as your own playing, those are the first things, be able to play the melody, think about what that melody is, if I should lose you, it's a tune about something, But there's a million ways to play it. You can play it with more or less ornamentation, with, more or less, it gets abstract in a hurry, like melancholy, anger, shades of meaning. That's why it's compelling to listen to a great jazz musician. It's like the way they can deliver these things, and the way they improvise. Obviously, that's that's listening to them kind of compose new melodies on the spot. But all of the really great musicians, all the really great improvisers could play the melody like crazy, And when I think in my head, even when I just think of, how they play the melody, I have such a, if you think of, okay, how did Billie Holiday phrase a melody, how did Charlie Parker phrase a melody? How did Louis Armstrong phrase a melody? There's like a very strong kind of personality sound image in my head of all these people, of the way, even without improvising, they played a melody, which it's a very different thing than the classical tradition and the classical way of learning. It's kind of indirect, It's something that I'm thinking about a lot, because I'm thinking about, how do you transmit